All right, we are back, and today we are going to be talking all about testers. That's right, testing electricity. So what's involved with testing electricity? What tools do you need? You might be a homeowner, you might be someone looking to get into the trades. This video will be for you. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is think about what kind of job you're going to be doing. Are you just going to be doing a renovation job, or are you going to be doing something more intense where you are doing a lot more troubleshooting, a electrical circuit, or you might be actually looking to do a whole install of a job? That comes with a couple different tools that you're going to need. Now, for beginners, you typically are just going to need to do plugs, switches, and lights. And for something that basic, you're going to want to look at getting a plug tester. So with me here, I have two plug testers. They both do the same thing. They are just two different manufacturers, and that's why they look differently. However, their operation is identical. You basically plug these into a wall socket, and the lights on the front of these testers will light up according to how it is wired. And if it is wired properly, it will tell you that it is gonna have these lights on the left hand side on, or your right hand side. If you have any other combination, that is an improper wiring job, and if you need to find out what that is, the wiring is right on the unit itself. So it'll tell you if you have a open or a new ground is touching or something like that. So you also may notice that it has a button on the top of the tester itself, as well as this one here. And now let's think about it. If this is a plug tester only, what are the two different types of receptacles that you may find in your house? If your answer was a receptacle and a GFI, you are correct. So, a GFI is a ground fault circuit interrupter, and they are typically found in your kitchens, in your bathrooms, or anywhere that water may be available to the electrical source. So outside you may have one, downstairs by your washer, your dryer, your sinks, anywhere along those lines. If you have a pool, that also should be GFI protected. And if you want to test if a GFI works properly, all you have to do is plug this into your GFI, press this button, and you should hear a click on the GFI. If you do not hear a click on the GFI, it could be tripped and you have to reset it first before you test it. And in order to do that, all you have to do is press the reset button on the GFI alone, and you should hear a click. Make sure you depress it pretty good, because some of them have a very strong spring on them and it'll fight you as you push it in. So make sure you hear a click when you do reset it. Once you do push this in, you'll hear it click and the power should disengage, and you should know that your GFI works. If it does not trip the GFI, make sure that your tester works. And if you know your tester works, I would recommend you change the GFI itself. Moving forward, if you're going to be working on a renovation and you're just moving a light switch or a receptacle here and there, and you're not doing too much wiring, and you're not going to have too many different sources of power coming in, you also might want to get a pencil tester. This is going to tell you if a wire is live or not. And all you got to do is press this button and it should come on. Well, the light came on, as you can see it flashing right there. Typically it makes a sound as well. This is made by Fluke, I believe, and These are great. There are different models out there. I recommend you getting something made by a quality company, and make sure you invest a little bit of money into these. Again, I would not recommend that you rely 100% on these. However, this will give you probably about a 98% chance that the power is on or off. I've had it just give me false readings twice in my whole 20 career life, and I still recommend having theirs there. I just shut it off and it did make the beep. And so all you do is turn this on, put it up to a wire. If it's the light goes solid red and you hear a steady tone, that means the wire is live. Make sure you shut the power off to that wire, and this should stop beeping and the light should start blinking again. Again, there are different brands out there and they all do something similar to this one, but it may be a little bit different from there. Moving forward, if you're going to be doing a lot more in-depth electrical work, such as panel work, troubleshooting, like shorts in your circuits, doing amp readings to see if a device is working properly, to get a current reading on your main service to see how much you're drawing on your main lines, anything in depth like that. Or you might be even going to troubleshoot somebody's house or your neighbor's house that you've never worked on, and you need to find out where the wires go. I would recommend you investing some good money into a meter. I have two different meters here. They do exactly the same reason or the same things, and the reason I have them, two different kinds of meters, is because of this thing here. And I'll explain to you that in a second. Now, this meter here is, again, by Fluke. If you notice, I have a lot of Fluke tools here. And Fluke is, or meters. So I have a Fluke. This one here is a Klein. I believe it's a Klein. Yes, it's a Klein. However, I had to get it because it was for an apprentice, and he left it on the job, and I inherited it. So I would recommend, if you're getting a meter such as these, that you do not go to a Walmart or a Canadian Tire or one of those mom and pop shops and buy a multimeter. These things, you're playing with your life, and you want to make sure that you get something reliable, and that'll give you correct readings. Now, this one I've had since I was in high school, and it is still pumping. It's made by Fluke. It's got the same batteries on it, and it kind of is my daily driver, and I always took this one onto service calls because it was always a nice, easy meter to work with. One thing I would recommend that you do look at when you're getting a meter is this one here does AC and DC. However, I have to change between the two to get an AC or a DC reading, whereas I go with this one here. If I set it just to volts, the meter itself will determine if it's an AC or a DC signal coming in and give you the correct reading. Now, the reason I got this one, like I said at the beginning, was because of this. Being that I was a electrical contractor and even working in the union and on bigger jobs, we were always testing bigger wires. So we were testing anything up from a minimum of size 3 to a 750 and 1000 kc mil wire. And a 750 kc mil wire will fit over that or just fill this hole perfectly if anybody needs to know. And I probably have about 1.5 inches in this radius. So you can understand the size of wires that I was looking at. And so I needed something as this big, because working on apartment buildings and looking at service sizes of 400 amp and bigger, I needed to read bigger wire. where if I only had this one, I would be lucky to read, this is my pinky finger, so I would be lucky to be able to read a number 3 wire, which is your standard size of wire for 100 amp service in a home. One thing I did have to make sure I looked at was I got the proper amperage on this, and I got a 800 amp, and that was more than enough. I wasn't looking at anything bigger than that where I had to take a current reading. But if I was just going to a regular residential job, I had no problem just bringing in one of these. Where this one also, I can change out the leads and put alligator clips instead of the prongs. And this one also is just a little bit bulkier than the Fluke, and that's another reason I do prefer to take this one, especially if you are bouncing around on electrical jobs or going from room to room and you need to move around quickly. The smaller the tools that you have and the less tools you have makes your job that much easier. If you have any questions, again, please feel free to reach out to me at info at electrical-os.com, and you must be a Patreon member in order to do that. And if you are not a Patreon member, please head over to the online consultant on Patreon, subscribe to the base tier, and that will give you full access to me as your personal electrician, and that I can help you with your electrical and real estate journeys in your future endeavors. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.